doing a career conversation with Amanda for the School of Accountancy. I have Alexa Rivas here with us today from HLB Gross Collins, and we're going to be talking about open communication during the recruitment process and how it increases student hiring results.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Amanda.
I'm excited. So what can you tell us quickly about HLB Gross Collins?
Sure. So we are a mid-sized full-service public accounting firm here in Atlanta. We specialize in tax and audit as well as consulting. We have about 85 employees generally. We also have a Kennesaw office that specializes in tax and accounting services, founded in 1969. We were rated top 25 in Atlanta from the Atlanta Business Chronicle and top 30 in the US in terms of female ownership from inside public accounting. So there's a little bit about us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what does open communication mean in the recruitment process? What does that look like?
So to me, what that means is telling me everything you know at the moment, as well as everything you don't know, and just kind of being a little bit honest. So that means, have you decided between tax and audit? If not, just let me know. That's not a wrong answer. Are you talking to a bunch of other firms? Are you not? We don't need to know which firms, but that might help the timeline, as well as your GPA and your intentions, and just keeping us posted on, if things change, if your plans change, and what your long-term intentions are.
Awesome. Cool. Do you think that looks different between like an internship or like a hire after an internship once students graduate?
A little bit, but really not too much. When I think of open communication, I really think, so we're going to do, interviews for both an internship and a full-time position. And that's just kind of telling us, hey, when are you available? Tell us when you're actually available. If I say, hey, how about Thursday at 2 and you're not free, don't feel like you have to say, yeah, I can make that work. And then you end up in your car on your phone doing a Zoom interview that way, because that just doesn't help anyone. It's okay to say, I can't do it at that time, I'm unavailable. How about I propose a new time? And that's the same for full-time and internships. Life happens. If something comes up, an interview scheduled, and you have to change the date, that's okay. Just let everybody know. Internships, I feel like the only thing that's really different is sometimes students will go to their advisors and see, okay, well, I originally thought I was going to do it in spring of 2023. It looks like it'd be better for summer or spring of 24. And just as soon as you're kind of aware of that, just letting us know, and we can, adapt and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. To keep employers in the loop makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've talked a little bit about what open communication looks like. How can students use open communication in the hiring process? Is there anything else that they should be aware of with open communication and how that helps them?
Yeah, one thing I think students struggle with, and I very much understand, is giving bad news to a firm. Let's say you accept an offer from another firm, or you need to, we give you an offer and we say we'd like your answer by this date, but you have an interview a couple days after. And it's a little awkward to say, hey, I want to give somebody else consideration as well. Can I move that extension, or can I extend that back a little bit? And the big thing for that is just, yes, you absolutely can. I know it's hard conversation to have sometimes, but at the same time, we will look at it and value, these are strong communication skills. They are very aware of their time and their schedule, and they're letting us know, and we appreciate that and value that and think that is an excellent tool to have if you were to come on with us full time eventually, as opposed to, say you accept an offer and then you just like ghost, or you don't say anything until 5 minutes before the interview. Then we kind of look at that as, poor communication skills overall. So you can give the bad news, but we'll just value the communication.
Yeah, and I think that really says a lot about a candidate too, and that in the future, you might want to go back to a different firm in the future or something like that. And then you honestly have that respect and that open communication where you're building your relationships. So that can be really, really good too.
Absolutely. Like if we have a student this year say, hey, I'm so sorry, we're going to another firm. I've accepted an offer there. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'll be like, well, I'm sad, but I'm happy that they're doing what's best for them and making the right decision for them. We definitely understand how crazy of a time it is and how many offers you're getting and how important it is to make that right decision. Let's say 2 years down the line, things aren't working out and you want to come back on board with HLB. I can look back at my notes and say, oh, I really liked them. And, you know, they responded quickly. They gave me accurate information as soon as they had it. Yes, we will definitely get this going versus, oh, we had an offer for them, but then I never heard anything back and saw on LinkedIn that now they work at this firm. And I'm not sure if that's the communication we're looking for in our office. So that can really detract from future opportunities as well.
Right, because the accounting community, we see everything on LinkedIn, right? You see your, neighboring firms and, where students are getting hired, you're connecting with them. So it's not a secret. So it's hard to, ignore other firms when they're giving you offers and things like that, especially when you are talking about exciting opportunities and wanting to keep that communication open, for sure.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to let students know in terms of open communication is, let's say you apply for an internship and then it's a year out, time's coming up and your GPA has lowered dramatically. That's one of those things too, where if you come forward and you say, hey, here's what's happened, here's why, here's how I'm working towards fixing that, I will see that as somebody who can recognize a problem and come forward, bring the problem to attention and come with a plan of action of how to solve it, versus, hey, why did your GPA drop? Do you just not care anymore? What's going on? That lack of communication can really, we can answer some questions that may not be right because you didn't give us an answer, but if you just, tell us straightforward, we can probably work around it.
Right. And like you said earlier, life happens. And so we don't know sort of what happened in someone's life to make their GPA drop some, or, those types of things that are happening that we might not have control over. And we don't want people to be making assumptions about us. So it's good to say, hey, listen, like this is what's going on. This is what I plan to do. So that's a really good tip. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And, good firms. So if I have a student, we have some offers out right now. If one of them says, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going Big Four or something, I'll be like, great, congratulations on your job. Good to hear it. We still want you to come to our socials and still come say hi at the booth at events. So even after you've already accepted that offer, still having that open communication with the recruiters you've been in contact with. Like we said, life happens. A few years later, your situation might change. That can really keep the doors open for you versus just shutting everything and thinking, I'm going to be here for the next 50 years.
Right.
Realistically, that just doesn't happen as much anymore.
Well, and then also it can help you with other students that might be interested. So it might not be a good fit for that student, but it could be for one of their friends, and sharing that communication like, oh, here, let me introduce you to Alexa. I think that you really like HLB Gross Collins. And then that sort of opens up a connection for you as well. So that's another cool idea for, keeping communication open.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that point up, because one thing is we very much understand students are, real people. You've got a lot of concerns on your plates. You've got big decisions to make. We're fully aware of that and we respect that. At the same time, especially with small firms like us, we only have a few internship spots to offer every year. If you have to turn it down for some reason, that's okay. But if you don't tell us until the week before, but you knew 6 months ago you never intended on coming, that's a spot for a student that could really use this internship to get their foot in the door and make a huge difference in their career that you just took away from them because you were scared or didn't want to send that email. And it's really just a quick way to just, keep everything open for everyone and help everyone make the best decision for themselves.
Great. Yeah. Do you have any last advice or thoughts for students regarding open communication and communication in the recruitment process?
Sure. I think the last thing I want to say is I feel like college students can be very intimidated because, especially when you first start going to those career fairs and meeting professionals and getting invited to socials, it can be a very daunting process. But just understand we're real people too. We understand. We know what it's like. Recruiters are sometimes on the HR front, so we didn't necessarily go through, accounting recruiting, but we understand the process and what you're going through. So, take a little bit of pressure off yourself, just be yourself and be open and honest, and we're going to have a lot of respect for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about open communication today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.